This is SoapBox Radio.
Potting it out there.
Potting it out there with my lime boots. The Lifestyle Edit.
Hey guys, it's Ryan. It's a Thursday afternoon, just gone 4 o'clock, and coming back to you live from SoapBox Radio from 27 Boxes here in Melville. Welcome to SoapBox Radio, and I'm really excited for today's show as we venture into new waters. Before we get into the show, some feedback I've had from last week's show. I've had an awesome response to my drive to assist Anastasia in providing young girls with sanitary products and thereby keep them going to school. Thanks to everyone who's responded. Looks like I'm starting to make way with the manufacturers and the retailers, and what's more, other offers have started to come in for further assistance in this very worthwhile initiative. If you are unsure what I'm talking about, check out the pin post on my blog Facebook page for all the details and see how you can get involved. Last week's show was an absolute hoot. Thank you to all who took time to engage with Sam Dubé and myself, and for sending through all your exercise suggestions. Let me tell you, I was somewhat stiff last week Friday after what you guys put me through. A massive thank you for getting involved, and I hope to have more shows like that this year. Back to today's show. Let me tell you about these new waters that we'll be venturing into today.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go!
So, my friend Mia Ziervogel and I, who Mia is the editor-in-chief at Dossier, we seem to always have a great chat about many things that are going on at any one time. If you're on Facebook, you would have seen Mia sharing her thoughts on a variety of subjects that both interest and affect her. So, Mia and I got to thinking, let's do a show together and replicate what we do naturally when we get together, i.e. talk.
Now, the big problem here is that we usually have 3 hours.
Yeah, we've got a tenth of that.
I'm going to have to talk very fast.
So we decided to do this show, and that's what we're doing today. On today's show, Mia and I will be in conversation around certain topics that are of interest to us. But we also want your comments. Do you have an opinion on what we are talking about? Well, then you need to send it through either on my Twitter account or as a comment on the Facebook live stream going out as we speak. Now that we're all on the same page, let's jump into today's discussion. And we say welcome to Mia. Hi, Mia.
Thank you. This is very exciting.
You're looking forward to our show today, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of issues. I'm going to jump off with the first issue, something that's caught my attention. That's really what today's show is what has caught our attention over the last while, and then just discussing it. I say this is a very interactive show. We're looking to hear from you guys. Send through your questions as we go. And I'd like to kick us off with something called gene editing on humans, which has taken place already in 2018. In late November 2017, researchers infused a person's blood with gene editing tools, aiming to treat a severe inherited disease. The 44-year-old patient has a rare metabolic disorder called Hunter syndrome. Although this is not the first instance of gene editing in humans, it was the first time zinc finger nucleuses, or nuclei I suppose it should be, have been used directly to modify DNA in living patients. This is called in vivo gene editing. Researchers used the new CRISP, which is I'm told is pronounced CRISPR, technology to achieve this. CRISPR technology is a simple yet powerful tool for editing genomes. It allows researchers to easily alter DNA sequences and modify gene function. Its many potential applications include correcting genetic defects, treating and preventing the spread of disease, and improving crops. It doesn't only apply to humans. However, its promise also raises certain ethical questions, and this is really what I want to just touch on briefly today. While it is great in terms of medical advancement, two things worry me. Firstly, the ethical concerns in terms of testing and related matters, and then ultimately access to such technology by the masses. So from an ethical point of view, there seems to be concern around unintended mutations being introduced via this technology. In fact, we have a limited understanding of human genetics, and I think, Mia, that's really what worries me on this one, is when we're fiddling with the intricate structures of our body to that level, because these genomes and these zinc things come in and they slice bits of genes away, and they introduce new elements that potentially correct disease, but it just concerns me that we potentially are fiddling with something at such a deep level that we don't really have full understanding of.
I think the problem here is that we don't actually understand to the full extent to which these medical companies have done tests and what they've come up with. I know that they really raising huge crops of pigs for human hearts and all kinds of things that's very questionable and seem cruel. So I think that the medical profession has never been very open about what they're doing. So they could be, using human embryos, all kinds of things that's very questionable. So this is a issue. It's a moral issue, but I think that we're in the dark as to what these people are actually doing.
And in turn, what are your thoughts in terms of fiddling? Because ultimately, we're going to be. So say there's a genetic defect within me, and I go for this therapy, and that genetic defect is then resolved, and then I have children going forward. I'm influencing future generations without them even knowing. You know what I'm saying? It just worries. We're dealing at such a deep level. You know?
Yeah, and also the thing that worries me is the food issue.
Yeah.
Because where's that going to go? We already have so many hormones in our food. It's affecting all kinds of things, from obesity to kids having puberty earlier. So yes, this is scary and a very real problem. But I do think that companies they're not giving us the real story.
Okay. Another concern is access to this technology. So obviously technology like this, I can understand the benefits. I can understand if you've got a genetic heart problem and you can resolve it this way. It's the same back in the days when Chris Barnard did the first heart transplant. That was fiddling with nature to a very extreme level. But new technology like this is usually quite expensive and not always having access to the masses. So it becomes a further gap between the poor and the rich, and we create the super rich race who have access and I have perfect memory retention, because this doesn't only relate to genetic diseases. We could now suddenly start changing my physical appearance. I could age at a different rate. You could do so many cosmetic things with it. It just worries me about this gap and that increasing.
Well, there's this joke about Mugabe going and redoing all his blood cells every now and again, and so the thing is the rich will be able to live longer. That is just par for the course. Hey?
No, very much so. In conclusion, I think any medical advancement goes through these phases of not understanding. What I keep coming back to is the heart transplant thing, because to me it's on a similar level. But
that was still natural. It was still one heart coming out of a body to another one. I don't understand when technology goes into our bloodstream and into our DNA. I don't understand yet what the consequences are going to be.
And in the many articles I read, this was the common denominator in all of the articles. We such infant levels of understanding genetics, and now we're starting to fiddle with it. We're only going to find out the results of these. And look, don't get me wrong. I think there are positives to this, and it's something that does need to be researched. I think the ethics is a big point that needs to be thought about. There we go. We're going to move on shortly.
This is SoapBox Radio.
Potting it out there.
Potting it out there with My Lime Boots. The Lifestyle Edit. Share your thoughts and be part of the show now.
Send a message on Twitter or Facebook
at My Lime Boots.
Find My Lime Boots on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
At My Lime Boots. And on YouTube.
At My Lime Boots Live.
Great. I'm back this afternoon chatting to my friend Mia Ziervogel. We're trying a new concept of in conversation. Mia, you've got a point that you want to discuss in terms of Conde Nast and photographers.
Yes, what's happened in the world with the Me Too movement was started with Hollywood and it's gone to the White House even, and into Silicon Valley. Everybody is under investigation, and Conde Nast has now published the press release as to their code of conduct that will now happen on fashion shoots, because there's been problems with two very, very prominent photographers, Maria Testino and Bruce Weber. Both of them have lost huge amounts of work with top clients, and both of them were, in my opinion, not that relevant. It happened a long time ago. It wasn't anything to do with rape or abuse. It was just maybe a bit of misconduct. But Conde Nast is now had this press release, and it's interesting for me. I've been a photographer for 30 years or longer, and now there's a set of rules, which is, I don't know if this is taking us backwards or forwards. The one thing that I do agree with is that they've decided not to use any under 18s anymore, which I think is a very good thing, and I've always been for that. I don't think a 13, 14-year-old should be
sexualized.
Not sexualized, but not. You don't need to put a 14-year-old in a fashion shoot. The other thing is that any nudity now has to be signed off by the model beforehand. So there will be contracts now at every shoot. The one thing that I think is really funny is that everybody is supposed to be sober on the shoot.
I don't know how the quality of work is going to come out.
I don't know how they're going to see that happens. The big thing with fashion shoots is that there's always alcohol, there's always champagne, there's always vodka. Models always need, and actresses always need a little bit of something to get them going. So that one I question. Private dressing rooms also interesting. All the studios will now have to be completely private. We used to, in my line, I've seen everybody naked, everybody changes in front of everybody. There's never been any issues, so that's quite interesting.
Let's talk about just the space of a photo shoot. You have experience in this space. You know, we were talking about this the other day. It's quite an intimate space by the nature of the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's not like going to work and sitting at a desk and working for 8 hours. It's likely to lead to these situations. Let's just talk
the thing is that you must remember that a model would arrive at the studio and obviously will be nervous. The first 3 hours she'll be in the hands of a makeup artist and a hairstylist that is tugging at her. Then a stylist will come. It's a very intimate, you're very close to the person, the whole time while you're doing preparations.
Yeah.
So there's already that intimacy. And then as a photographer, you have to get the model to relax. You have to get the model to get into the mood. And most of your fashion shoots, you've got to have an attitude. You've got to get the model into the stance that... And it's what is going to happen when a client needs a little bit more of just a sexual, not the
act.
Yeah, just a little bit of sexy, maybe it's a perfume ad or something. These lines are going to get blurred. So I don't know how much control they're going to be able to put onto shoots.
So do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's got elements of trying to achieve something?
I think that sex sells is what the question is. Does sex actually sell? Are we going to now go back to 1950s where we are very pris? Is that where it's going? It'll be interesting for me to see where all of this goes, because maybe we have gone too far.
Okay.
In sexualizing everything from lipstick to shampoo. So maybe it is good that we normalize, but I don't see how they're going to be able to stop things like people drinking on set or people being not using drugs. Obviously, you can do your drugs before you go to set. You can go and have a drink before you go to set. I don't know how they're going to control things like that. But the other thing that I find very interesting is that models now have to have a chaperone when they go into any of the Conde Nast shoots. They're not allowed to be alone with the photographer or the stylist at any moment.
Sure. Okay.
So now who's going to chaperone? Is it the model agency, and will the model agency then have to watch over these models? I don't know. It's going to be... I'll get back to you about how this all pans out.
Well, maybe a good start.
Yeah, but let's see what
Possibly
happens. It's interesting that they've clamped down.
Yeah.
Because I think all the other industries are clamping down. And this one is blurred lines because models are supposed to portray image, photographers are supposed to get something out of a model, and it's interesting.
Well, let's watch that space. When we come back, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about an interesting Nando's ad that flighted on YouTube in December.
Share your thoughts and be part of the show now.
Send a message on Twitter or Facebook
at MyLineBoots.
Find My Line Boots on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
At MyLineBoots. And on YouTube.
At That's My Line Boots Live.
Okay, I'm back this afternoon chatting to Mia as we are in conversation around issues that we have found interesting over the last couple of weeks, and after chatting to you about them this afternoon. The next topic I want to talk about is this new Nando's ad which flouted, I think it was in early December last year, called "We Can Fix Our Shit" ad.
I think it's got to do with Trump, and I think it's not. It's quite recent.
Yeah,
that he
December.
said that we. Yeah.
This was before he made his comment on the similar things. I know if you look on my Facebook, my blog Facebook page, you'll see I've just posted the YouTube video. But I'm going to play it for you now. So if you're listening, you'll be able to hear. This is the ad. It's only a minute. Just listen along.
South Africans can do anything. We can end hundreds of years of oppression. And we can get lost lovers back in 2 days. We can lose our minds. And we can change them. We can make it. But we can fake it. We can forgive. And we can be forgiven. Right? We can lose our money and we can get some of it back. We can get new finance ministers faster than we can get new eyebrows. We can perform miracles and make miraculous recoveries. We can believe in superheroes. But some things, unbelievable. We can feel doomed. And then be on top of the world. Bon, in South Africa, we've always fixed our shit.
Hope we have enough cash.
And we can fix our shit again.
No, man. Why is this thing so big? Okay, I'm driving. Who's on the drive? I got the keys. What about me? No, sorry for you.
So that was the ad I'm referring to. So I'm just going to make a noise to get that back there. And what really appealed to me about this ad is this "we can do" attitude, which I think Nando's has tapped into really nicely here in South Africa. You know, as South Africans, we have overcome things in the past, and we will continue to overcome things. We see, if 2017 was anything to go by, we see the tide truly changing in South Africa, with change coming, with more transparency happening, and things being corrected. Mia, do you agree with me that that's the way South Africans are in terms of being able to fix our nunu?
The general feel this year has been very positive so far. Even just looking at our exchange rate, everything seems to be on the up and up, and people are feeling a lot more positive. And I think with the Nando's ads, you know, they're always funny. We can always laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
They're always right on trend and on news. So I mean, that's been a
hallmark of the Nando's brand.
Yes, no, they always entertain us.
Yeah.
But I think things are looking better. Obviously not for Cape Town, but you'll speak about that in your next show.
Sure.
But the general mood out there is a lot more
looking
positive.
Good, What I really liked was the standing together, and I think, as Mia has mentioned, in 2 weeks' time we're doing a show on the water crisis in Cape Town. And to me, the problem with the water crisis really is that people are not standing together. It's not about finger pointing and whatnot, but that's a whole different show. But that's what the Nando's ad shows. I really like the fact that they mentioned we can get new finance ministers faster than we can get new eyebrows. I remember
really
that time,
funny.
You know, in terms of what was happening. So well done, Nando's. They continue to be culturally relevant to us in South Africa. And South Africans, I know we've fixed stuff in the past and we can fix it going forward. We just need to stand together. Mia, you want to talk about fashion documentaries?
Yes, well, I'm going back to my topic from earlier. I've been watching a lot of fashion documentaries, so I want to suggest a few that I thought is worth watching. And the first one that is trending at the moment is the Versace murder story on American Crime Story, and it really shows the whole scenario with Versace as the hero. It's very interesting. It's a very good watch. If you're very into fashion, I would suggest House of Z, which is a story about Zach Posen, who was one of the earliest fashion designers ever to reach heights at like the age of 18. So he was a big shot and had a very, very quick fall. And it's the story about how he had to get his act together after being such a big star, falling and then getting back on top. There's also very interesting, I haven't watched it yet, but Daniel Day-Lewis has said that this is his last movie that he'll make. It's called Phantom Threads. It's about a fashion designer. It's up for Oscar. So that will be very interesting. And then two other documentaries which are absolutely wonderful is Manalo Blanek and Dries van Noten, I'll make a list for you to post, but those are all about the fashion industry, how hard it is, the perfectionism that goes with it, and the professionalism. It's not just putting two little pieces of fabric together. It's a big business, and I think it's very interesting to see the fashion industry from
these different perspectives.
What really happens with designers and what they go through.
What did you learn from these movies that you've been watching?
Well, I just learned that you have to be so professional and perfectionist, and there's only a few people in the world that will actually take their passions and take it so far and work so hard, and not everybody has it in them. Their whole lives just revolve around what they do. There's no holidays, nothing. It's very interesting.
I think you hit on the right word there, passion. It really needs to be your passion to do it, otherwise I don't think you would last too long in that space.
Yeah.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk some wine trends here in South Africa for 2018.
Find My Lime Boots on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.
At My Lime Boots and on YouTube.
At My Lime Boots Live.
Share your thoughts and be part of the show now.
Send a message on Twitter or Facebook.
At My Lime Boots.
I'm back this afternoon chatting in conversation with Mia Ziervogel around issues that have interested us over the last couple of weeks. Feel free to join us, send points and questions you may have through on Facebook or Twitter on my Facebook account. Next, I want to talk about wine trends in 2018. I came across this article in Biz Community, which I found quite interesting.
Sorry, there's only one trend, and that's that we're all drinking.
It looks like we may be drinking more this year after you listen to what we have to say.
Is that possible?
You believe it. So the South African wine industry is experiencing one of its most exciting phases in history. Overall, wine quality has increased dramatically over the last 5 years. International recognition is also at an all-time high, and the consumer is now spoiled for choice, with a wealth of new products, producers, varietals and styles. South African wine offers tremendous value locally and abroad. I think anyone who's travelled will tell you that for what you can get for 300 Rand locally versus what you get overseas, I think we're really quite lucky with the prices we get here. But premium South African wines are surging in price, widening the gap in everyday beverage wines. Here are some of the trends that are emerging in wines in 2018. First of all, premium rosé. Now, when you say rosé to me, I just think, no, I don't enjoy rosé. Something that my dad always enjoys, so when I have supper with him, I'm always forced to drink rosé with him, and it's just dreadful stuff. So internationally, rosé is very trendy at the moment, believe it or not, but in South Africa, I think we are too used to that poor quality, semi-sweet, that bright pink liquid that some of us consume. But this premium rosé category is definitely one to watch, with some of the notable wine producers locally in the Cape who are putting in time into developing superior rosé offerings. Certain regions in France actually are known for their rosé, as opposed to our understanding of rosé here in South Africa.
And just for me to put in something funny, there's now a blue wine that's produced in France. They're taking the skin of the dark grape. And the wine's coming out blue. Sure. So that's going to be another category. Yes, I don't know if it's a trend. I know about the blue gin.
I think it might put me off, the blue wine.
I know, me
looks
too.
like you're having like Listerine with your supper.
I know, but it's a new thing in Europe, so
we'll watch this space.
Yes.
Sauvignon, number 2, Sauvignon Blanc is back. Now, Sauvignon Blanc has always been here for me. That's my go-to wine of choice.
Mine too.
Is it? Okay. The last decade in South Africa has generally seen Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay overtake Sauvignon Blanc in popularity. Many South African Sauvignon Blancs have been classed as rather watery, but 2017 here in South Africa has fast been regarded as the best vintage of Sauvignon Blanc in the last decade. Those in the know say we should be watching what comes through in the Sauvignon Blanc varietals this year. Drought obviously will be affecting prices. 3 years of droughts in the Western Cape is going to severely impact yields in 2018 as water quotas are slashed and the vines struggle to keep up production. This will not only decrease volumes but also push up costs in years to come. expect entry-level wines to become more expensive. That's not the news. As stocks are diminished and the drought continues, economically and politically, this is a major concern as large volume wineries operate at marginally profitable levels. It's frightening to see how unprofitable the wine industry is. It really is.
They're struggling.
You know?
But there's also a lot of wastage.
Yeah.
So I think that possibly with the droughts, the wastage will come to an end. I think there's a lot of wine that gets dumped.
Yes.
So I think that will also even out a bit.
Yeah. So from those wine trends, what does that mean in my life? Well, I believe even better Sauvignon Blanc will be on its way, and perhaps we'll be buying online as well to get better prices in the economy at the moment. The drought impact is still very worrying for me from a wine agricultural point of view, as well as from a human point of view. So lots to think about in terms of wine. Any thoughts on wine from your side, Mia?
No, I just love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's my friend.
That's all I can say.
It's a 12 trusty friend that is always there in times of need.
Yes.
Mia, you want to talk a little bit about binge watching?
Yes, because it was December, I had a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah.
I've got 4 suggestions that I want to make. I'm sure most of your listeners have gone into This Is Us. But I've now almost finished This Is Us season 2.
Sure.
It's just even better than season 1. I just love that show. I think we all do. So season 2 hasn't been a disappointment. And then I want to speak about it's actually a Danish program called Rita.
Yeah.
And it's this chain-smoking, hot, sexy teacher in a school in somewhere in Denmark, but very funny, and it's just a really good watch, and I would suggest that for women. It's quite empowering. She's empowering. She's got flaws, but she's also got many strengths, and it's been very, very interesting. And then for everybody, I would suggest The Night Of, which is a story of I think he is Pakistani in this show. Riz Ahmed is the actor, and it is a crime scene that he's part of, and he gets arrested, and it shows his whole journey from being arrested, being a good guy, being arrested, and what happens to him in jail.
Over the edge.
It was very interesting. And then also a crime scene. Jessica Biel's The Sinner. Also very interesting. She's also on, obviously, the committer of the crime right from the first season, and then from there onwards, the first episode, and then the whole season shows why she committed the crime. Very good. Those are very good binge watching
options.
Yeah, bad weather Saturday. With wine.
Yes, definitely. So take all what we've said today and put it all together. So Mia, we've come to the end of the show. We've spoken about a variety of topics. What is your feeling of the general thread that has flown through everything that we've spoken about?
Well, I think we come back to the Nando's ad, and I think that we really need to this year stick together, stop fighting with each other, and be gentle on each other, and let's make this year count. Let's make it a good year for the country.
Sure, let's make it a cracker 2018. Okay, and that brings us to the end of a rather interesting show, which I hope you've enjoyed. And Mia, I look forward to doing this again with you sometime soon.
Yes, I've got so many notes. We hardly got through them. Yes. Like I said, we need 3 hours.
3 hours for that show, huh? Maybe we'll
with
make
wine.
it a longer show. Yeah, there we go. The show may deteriorate as it goes on, but that just makes it more flavor. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that new show, and we look forward to bringing that to you again sometime soon. Next week, I've got an interesting guest, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. And in 2 weeks' time, we're doing a show on the water crisis in Cape Town. So lots to look forward to, lots to get involved in. But yes, that was SoapBox Radio, and I'm out of here.
You've been listening to SoapBox Radio.
Potting it out there with my lime boots.